When you hear the term AI singularity, what comes to mind? Probably some big, explosive moment, right? Something out of a sci-fi movie. But what if I told you that's not how it's happening at all? What if it's already here, unfolding quietly right under our noses? That's what we're going to dive into. We're going to cut through all that hype and really look at how this quiet transformation is changing everything. The goal here is simple, to help us all think a little deeper and maybe build a little wiser in this new age of AI. Yeah, for years, we've been told to just wait. Get ready for the singularity, they said, as if it's some kind of countdown to a rocket launch. But the truth? It's way more subtle than that. And it's not in the future, it's now. And the story I'm about to share with you, well, it's not science fiction. This is a real reality check. So, picture this. It's early 2025. We're in a clinic in Nairobi. They've just rolled out this brand new, cutting-edge AI system. Its whole purpose is to help doctors catch things early, with diagnostics. And let me tell you, this thing was brilliant. A total game changer. Then, one day, it does exactly what it was built for. It flags a case. Diagnoses this incredibly rare, super aggressive form of cervical cancer that every human doctor had completely missed. A life was literally about to be saved. You can imagine the scene, right? The team is celebrating, a huge win for the technology. But then, just 14 hours later, something happens that no one can explain. The AI, it changes its diagnosis. It completely reverses its own decision. And get this, there was no new data, no system update, no human touched it. It just changed its mind. The engineers, they're scrambling. They pull all the logs, they look at everything, nothing. No one could figure out why. The model made a call and then just took it back. And the process was completely untraceable. It was in that moment, in that clinic, that it became crystal clear. The singularity, it didn't arrive with a bang. It just slipped in the back door, quietly. And it is already changing the very fundamentals of our lives, right now. First up, our own identity. Think about it. For centuries, we've defined what it means to be human by our intelligence, right? Our big brains. But we built machines to think. And now those machines are starting to outpace us, not just in logic, but in creativity, even in what looks a lot like empathy. So that leaves us with this huge question. Who are we, really, when the one thing we thought made us special isn't so unique anymore? What we're seeing is this incredible shift, where being human is becoming less about what you know and more about what you stand for. Your purpose, your values, how you connect with other people. And that redefinition of who we are, it totally reshapes our relationship with work. I mean, AI is getting better and better at handling all the routine stuff, even the really complex analysis. The whole idea of a job is changing right before our eyes. The machines can handle the what, the tasks, but they can't give us the why. So the future of human work, it seems to be moving away from just raw output and productivity. Our real value is going to be found in the stuff AI just can't fake. Real inspiration, tough ethical calls, and creating things with deep human meaning. So this brings us to a huge challenge for governments, for entire nations. Algorithms are already influencing everything. I'm talking election results, who gets a loan, even prison sentences. But here's the kicker. If an algorithm messes up, if it makes a biased decision, who's to blame? Who is accountable? This has sparked this fascinating idea of AI constitutions. These are brand new legal frameworks, but they're not for people. They're for the algorithms themselves, to make sure they operate ethically and we can see how they work. This is a wide open field, a chance for any nation to step up and lead. All right, so from nations, let's zoom in on corporations. Just try to imagine a company that can learn, adapt, and completely restructure itself in real time, without a single human CEO or a board of directors making the call. And look, this isn't sci-fi anymore. We're starting to see the birth of these AI-native organizations that can optimize everything, supply chains, marketing, product design, at a speed and a scale that is it's way beyond what any human team could ever manage. And of course, if work is changing, education has to change too. For generations, our schools have been all about one thing, memorizing facts. But an AI can do that in a nanosecond. So the future is pointing towards something completely different, truly adaptive learning. Can you imagine an AI tutor that knows you personally? It understands your learning style, your strengths, your weaknesses, and it builds a custom curriculum that literally grows with you your whole life. The real challenge now isn't just about cramming knowledge into our heads, it's about redesigning education to build wisdom and real critical thinking.
And right alongside all these changes, our whole idea of wealth and ownership is getting turned on its head. I mean, think about it. In a world where an AI can get a self-driving car to your door in seconds, do you really need to own one? And that idea applies to more and more things. The old model of just collecting physical stuff, of owning assets, it's starting to fade. It's being replaced by a model built on access to AI-powered services. Wealth is becoming less about what you have in your garage and more about what you can summon with a word or a tap.
Okay, but what about the human soul? What about creativity? We've all seen AI generate music, art, even movie scripts that are, well, they're technically amazing. But does that mean the human artist is obsolete? No way. See, true creativity isn't just about spitting out a product. It's about intention. It's about context. It's about emotion. The future doesn't belong to the AI. It belongs to the creative people who figure out how to use AI as an unbelievably powerful partner, a tool to make their own vision even bigger, not to replace it. And this brings up something deeper, almost a spiritual challenge. When these machines act like black boxes, right? They make these huge, life-altering decisions, and even the people who built them can't fully explain why. That creates a real crisis of faith, not just in technology, but in our own systems. We're being forced to figure out how to live in a world where we no longer have a monopoly on intelligence. It's pushing us to find totally new ways to think about trust and meaning and just understanding this new reality. So let's go back to healthcare, back to where this whole story started. That clinic in Nairobi, that was just the beginning. Today, we have AI systems being deployed that can predict disease outbreaks before they even start. They can diagnose conditions from medical scans with superhuman accuracy. They can even monitor how a patient is recovering, completely on their own. The doctor isn't being replaced. Their role is shifting. They're moving from being the one and only authority to being an expert guide, working side by side with this incredibly powerful diagnostic partner. Now, let's switch gears and look at the world of finance. This might shock you. Right now, today, it's estimated that up to 85% of all financial trades are made by algorithms. And these trades are happening in microseconds. That's way, way too fast for any human being to even see, let alone step in and do something about it. So here's the really crucial part. When something like a flash crash happens and markets go haywire, it's often impossible to point to the one algorithm that started it all. Our financial markets aren't just being managed by people anymore. They've become these emergent, complex systems that basically regulate themselves, and they're totally unpredictable, which leads to a very simple and very chilling question. Who or what is actually in control? And that exact same question of control, it's hanging over our national defense, too. We have entered the age of autonomous warfare. I'm talking about drone swarms that can be launched with a mission, but then they adapt, they react to what's happening on the battlefield, they talk to each other, they pick targets, they form a strategy, all without a human pilot pulling the strings. This is a massive leap beyond just a remote-controlled drone. Now, let's look at the legal world. AI is already being used to recommend prison sentences, to predict if someone is a flight risk, to analyze contracts. But this creates a huge problem. When a judge's ruling is being shaped by an algorithm's recommendation, a recommendation that nobody in that courtroom, not the lawyers, not the judge, can fully explain, then justice itself becomes a black box. Accountability, it just evaporates. This quiet transformation, it's also creeping into our most personal spaces, our relationships. You might have seen this already. A growing number of people are forming really deep, emotional bonds with AI companions. Chatbots that are acting as their friends, their therapists, sometimes even their romantic partners. We are, in effect, starting to outsource our loneliness. But here's the thing. An AI can mimic conversation, sure. But real human connection, that's built on shared experiences, on just being present. And we're at risk of trading real depth for easy convenience. Okay, let's zoom all the way out to the planetary scale. AI is becoming an absolutely critical tool for managing our environment. These models can simulate incredibly complex climate patterns, they can optimize global energy grids, they can predict natural disasters. The next logical step is having them actively manage entire ecosystems, replanting forests, managing water, fighting climate change. But this incredible power brings with it a massive ethical question. Who gets to decide what a balanced ecosystem even looks like? And finally, all of this, everything we've talked about, it leads to the ultimate question, consciousness itself. When a really sophisticated AI model says, I feel pain, or I'm afraid, what is actually happening in there?
Is it just an incredibly clever simulation just parroting back data it's learned? Or could it be the first spark of a genuine feeling? That line between just copying and actually being is getting blurrier every single day, and it's forcing us to grapple with the very real possibility of non-human consciousness and what kind of rights that might entail. So let's be perfectly clear about this. None of this is some distant, maybe in the future prediction. These are shifts that are happening right now, today, in our clinics, in our courtrooms, on Wall Street. And this is what reveals the real threat of the AI era. Everyone's worried about AI taking our jobs, but that's not it. The real threat is us losing our purpose, our sense of control, of meaning, of belonging, in a world that we're starting to not fully understand.
So what do? How do we navigate this crazy new reality? Well, the answer isn't about writing better code. It's about doubling down on what makes us human. We need the wisdom to guide these powerful, complex systems. We need the ethics to demand accountability. And we need the sheer courage to stop and ask, not just, hey, can we build this, but should we build this? This isn't someone else's problem. This is the challenge for all of us. The silent singularity is here. It's not coming, it's arrived. And it's challenging every single one of us to figure out our place in this new world. The ultimate question might not be what AI is going to become. The real question is what it's going to make us become. If this gave you something new to think about, a new perspective, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives just like this one. Thanks so much for watching.